Hello! In this video you will learn how to make a basic crop top like this one. In the description box below you can find the link to the pattern I'm using. It comes in 3 different sizes and it's ready to be printed at home. To start, cut one front and one back pattern piece on the fold of the fabric. Any stretch knit fabric can work for this project, and you just need around 0.6 yards. Then cut bias strips to finish the neckline and the armholes. Here I'm using a knit fabric which stretches easily along its width and slightly less along its length. So I cut the strip in the direction that the fabric stretches the most. If you're using the same pattern I'm using, you will get these pieces already drafted for you in the PDF document. If you are using a different one, then measure the edges of the armholes and the neckline to determine the length of the bias you need. Once you have your pieces cut, take the front and the back and pin the shoulders together, with the right sides of the fabric facing each other. Sew a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance using a straight stitch or a stretch stitch if your sewing machine has one. Then pin the sides, putting the front and the back together with the right sides of the fabric facing each other. And sew a 3/8 of an inch seam. Finish the sides, shoulders and bottom edge using a serger, so it will look better and last longer. The overlock stitch at the bottom will also prepare your crop top to make an easier hem finish. Then search one of the sides on each piece of bias down the whole length. If you don't have an overlock machine, there is a link in the description to a video where you can learn how to do the overlock stitch by hand or on your regular sewing machine. Press seam allowances to help the thread of the seams to kind of melt into the fabric and give it a better finished look. Then fold and press the hem allowances on the bottom edge. This pattern has a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance for the hem. Sew the hem previously folded and pressed by stitching on top of the serged edge. The next step is to place the bias strip on the neckline and the armholes. I'm sewing each bias together at the ends, sewing a 3/8 of an inch from the edge. After having the shoulders and side seams sewn, it's time to place the bias starting with the armholes. Put the right sides of the garment with the right sides of the bias face to face, and making sure the seam that joins the bias strip matches with the side seams of the garment. Using pins, join the edge of the garment with the side of the bias that is without overcasting, and distribute it evenly around the armhole. Then sew the bias to the top all the way around the opening at 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Next, fold the bias inwards and use an iron to apply pressure, so the heat will keep it folded in this position. Now that the bias is folded like this, you can add a last line of stitching all the way around at 3/8 of an inch from the edge. And this is how the finished edges will look like with this technique. And it's ready! You will get something like this. And if you have some extra time, you can add some sew-on rhinestones or crystals to the neckline. I will leave the link to where you can find them in the description box below. I sewed them one by hand, but you can also glue them. And if you want to learn how to apply crystals on fabric, check out my How to Bling Converse video next. There you will find the exact tools you need to bling your clothes and shoes with ease. Remember that if you can imagine it, you can create it. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!